What's up, guys? It is Sam here, and today I have an amazing video. We have our next iteration of the power rankings, the most comprehensive ranking of the Democratic candidates that are running for president on the internet. Nobody else is doing what we're doing here. We're taking a look at some of these very macro figures like search volume and ranking them on social to come up with individual factors that then we take an average of their ranking across a number of factors to really capture what is happening with each one of these candidates. Not like a poll where there's 800 people or 1,800 people responding or 8,000 people responding. This is based upon millions of data points. So, with that being said, if this is your first time here, what's good? My name is Sam, and for those of you who are returning, it's good to freaking see you. Now, let's get into it. So, we've got 9 separate factors here. I'm going to run through these really quick as I walk towards the overall ranking of this, of the power ranking. So we've got our Google search volume. This is our first one. And this is basically Google tracks all of the search volume on the web. And whatever somebody searches for, it tracks. So we saw who had the most and who had the least over periods of time, and that's that ranking. Same exact thing on YouTube, and Google and YouTube are the #1 and #2 sites on the planet. So there's a tremendous amount of data that's captured in here, and it's just domestic searches in the United States. We also do statewide rankings based upon these factors. If you want to check them out, go back to the channel. Also, if you want to see any of these factors and like what the breakdown is, and the search volume and the factors and all that stuff, go back to the channel. You can check out each one of these factors individually. And then we did a website ranking. I like the website ranking, and I think it holds so much value because if your website's say ranked 3,000th, mine is ranked 10,000th, you're 3 times more popular, which doesn't like kind of capture the amount of value you get from that, because people go to a website for 2 reasons: to look for information or to buy something. So they're able to get a lot more in terms of donations, but that's not even the most valuable part. It's the ability to better target your audience with online ads is where you're going to build a better model if you know what you're doing, right? If you know what you're doing, this like you have to have that as the foundation. I should have started with that, but if you know what you're doing, you can capture and build these better like personnel or demographic and psychographic factors to understand to make ads for, right? If I have no, I don't know how sophisticated these campaigns are. So this is like in an ideal world. We looked at some growth factors on Facebook, on Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. So we have some engagement factors in there, meaning like on Instagram we have engagement, right? But on YouTube we have other factors, and on Twitter we have the how much work people are putting in by the number of tweets. So we capture a lot of valuable data right there. But then we get into our awareness rankings, which we just did the other day, if you want to check it out. And this is based upon the number of views on YouTube for all the search for the candidates' names. So you search for them over the last 24 hours. The videos that have been released, I take the top 10 in terms of the views, and I add them up to see who has the most like of immediacy of interest around the candidates, and also the number that come up in the last 24 hours. So any YouTube video that comes out that has the person's name in the title, or something very close to like Yang Gang or like, you know, just Biden or something like that, I would also count it that way as well. But they could have a thumbnail that had the person's name in it, or like image or likeness in it, whether it was a cartoon or the actual person. And to see how many people are like working for these candidates in terms of giving them their message, right? Like if you're working for them, if you're telling their story for them, right? That's how it works. So they have a lot of different people, and there's 3 top people in there, which was Andrew Yang, Bernie Sanders, and Joe Biden. So this is also a very unique awareness ranking as one of the factors on here, and then some stuff from Instagram. Then we do our donations, but this is quarterly data, so this is not updated that often, but we take a look at like small donors, basically who has the highest percentage of donations that come from small donors, and a couple other factors. And I put all of this together into our power rankings, and we got the top 5 candidates for our ranking on 12/17/2019: Bernie Sanders, Andrew Yang, Elizabeth Warren, Pete Buttigieg, and Joe Biden. So that rounds out the top 5, but I want to dive into the numbers a little bit more if you want to stick around. I changed the weighting. I believe the first 3 factors, the Google search volume, the YouTube search volume, and the website are tremendously, I feel like they're capture a little bit more data than the other ones in terms of the magnitude of interest. So I've ranked them at 25% more of a weighting in the average. If I just did a simple average, it would be about, every factor would be 11%. So I increased it by about 2% to 13.89%. The remaining factors I put in the average, they represent a weighting of 9.72%, just basically meaning that we're giving more valuable, we're giving more weighting in the score overall to the first 3 factors because I think they have more of an impact than the remaining 6 factors, which capture a lot of other information as well. And I don't know, I don't have the data behind it other than like back testing YouTube and Google search on the 2016 election versus the polls, and that was like they were way more accurate. So that gives me, and I didn't factor the website into there, but that gives me at least some confidence that, and you can go back on the channel and check that out, like Hillary versus Clinton, the polling versus like what we're doing online, and that was way more accurate. So what I'm actually have here is the most comprehensive understanding of like the collective of America, what they're thinking about, because attention is the currency. And if you can have more people talking about you, then there's a higher probability that they're going to be voting for you. Because they're just getting your message out, right? So we don't give a shit about the people who don't actually vote for this person. We just want more people to know about this person, to be talking about this person, so it's fresh in their minds. If whoever your candidate is. And we're just going to look at this over time. So that was what I did for the score, but let's hide this so we can actually take a look at this over time. We have Pete Buttigieg here kind of holding steady. Andrew Yang moved up a spot, but he's been up and down. So he moved up a spot from the end of November. Look at this. Amy Klobuchar is gaining ground, which is kind of interesting, but I think it's just basically because other people have dropped out. Probably. Honestly, because I just don't see her doing super well. Bernie Sanders has remained #1 now for 3 of these in a row, which is awesome. Nice job, Bernie. You've got a lot of attention there that's carried over from the last time you started building attention. Joe Biden has been sitting at 5th. I'm curious to see which direction he's going to break. My intuition, conjecture, right? Remember, this is conjecture corner, is that he would probably do worse. But when I look at the data on the state rankings that you can check out on the channel, by the way, any of your thoughts, let them down below in the comment section. Use the hashtag Stolt so that I can actually get into the Q&A section at the end of the video and we can talk about these comments, right? So use the hashtag Stolt in your comments so that I can find it when I look on my comments, hashtag Stolt in the YouTube analytics. But I would have a feeling he's or maybe it's more what I want. I don't know. But I see like the last couple days that we've been doing some of these other factors as we've been doing the research is that he started to peak in a couple of them. He started to like increase his interest. So that could just be more of me just saying that, because when I'm honest and I'm objective and I'm looking at the data, I have seen an uptick in the amount of interest in Joe Biden. So it is possible that he actually moves up to 4th and kicks Pete out of 4th spot. And this is on the national rankings here, so that's interesting. Cory Booker is also moving up, but it's similar to Amy, where it just happenstance, I think. Elizabeth Warren sitting there at 3rd. She's pretty comfy. She did lose a spot where Andrew Yang gained a spot there. Tulsi sitting there at 6th. Now, Tulsi, I just feel like she said she wasn't going to be in the next debate. And I think you have a pro and a con in that. There is the pro that you're going to be in front of a shitload more people and you're going to get a lot of other people to talk about you, which is increasing the amount of attention. And attention is what you need to be fucking elected. So if you stuck with your values, right, on the other hand, and you step away from all that attention because you're being like sticking to your thing, like, and you're like fuck the DNC or whatever her thing is, right? That in order to make up for the loss in the attention, you have to do something to get people to talk about you. And the level of execution I see across her social media, it doesn't indicate to me that she understands or her team understands how important it is to be online everywhere all the time, getting your message out, because it's free distribution. At 10 o'clock at night, when you've done campaigning, you can be getting your message out to the world every single night, like interacting with people, tweeting people, taking pictures and sending them. You know what I mean? Like creating memes. Like there's so much opportunity to put more content out. All the campaign stops that she goes to should be filmed and put on YouTube. There should be like somebody talking about her policies, and it should be a weekly podcast or something like this on her YouTube channel where somebody goes on and talks about her policies, right, or whatever she stands for, but interviews like people to see what they know and bring it in as a collaborative thing so everybody learns. Like you have to think of different ways to get your message out if you're stepping away from all this fucking attention over here. Like that's not, it's good on the one hand, you're sticking with your values, and I appreciate that. And fighting the game and making the game change is a very, very challenging thing to do, right? That's what she's trying to do with her stance, it appears, right? So in order to do that, you have to fucking execute over here, because this gives you more attention, right? And you need more attention. So if you're going to walk away from that, you really need to step up your game on these other areas. And I just don't see it happening, at least at this point in the game. That could change, but it I think there's a lot of opportunity to get better. Is basically what I'm trying to say on that front there. Tommy Steyer moved up to 7th. Same. I do see a tiny bit of like just a very marginal amount, and it's not across the board in terms of all the factors we're looking at. It might be like one or two. I see him gaining a little bit, but I don't know if that's going to translate into the other factors we have here. So say 2 of the 9, we'll say I see him gaining a little bit, but then the other 7 of the 9 factors, he's just been sitting there not doing anything. So I don't know if this 2 spots that I see him gaining are going to continue momentum, or they're going to drop off, or if it's going to spread across all the other factors as he gains more awareness through his campaigning. I'm not exactly sure. And I do probably believe that I don't know. I think, and I'd like to hear what your guys' thoughts are down below. Use the hashtag Stolt. But you guys think Clinton's going to run? I just got this thing that's like, she probably thinks that like it's a good idea because she's like in her mind, and I have no idea, right? This is fucking conjecture corner. That she's like, it wants to go down in the history books as like, the husband and wife who ran the country, you know what I mean? Or the first woman president, or in the United States. And like these other stories, I have no idea, but I just don't see her like waiting another 4 years. If there's any of that like drive inside of her, I feel like she may announce that she's running for president. Um, That'll be super interesting to watch. That'll be super interesting to watch and see how that actually plays out, because I don't know. She would have a lot more of attention than a lot of people to start with, just because you'd have all the people in the mainstream media talking about her. I think when we see, or if we see Joe Biden drop out, right around then, that might be the catalyst that either has Joe Biden drop out, or she might wait till Joe Biden drops out, then drop in. I don't know how she's like thinking about it, but we definitely see some rumors. And now that I'm like putting more thought into it, I think that could be something, you know what I mean, that possibly happens. By the way, look at this, 3,999 subscribers. Thank you so much. This is the Q&A section where we get into the comments. When you leave them down below and use the hashtag Stolt, I can come over here and I can search for hashtag Stolt, and these are what come up. This is from Ross Tessian. What's so good, Ross? I was chatting with him the other day. FYI, Tesla stock often goes down on good news due to the oil industry manipulation, but the long term tracks, the price will jump next year. See my Seeking Alpha article on end of ICE vehicles by 2025. Oil glut and price crash begins in 2023. Tesla stock will grow to $4,000 by 2025, probably double next year. This is not investment advice for anybody who's watching. Do your own fucking research. But I am also very bullish on Tesla. There's so much tailwind. If you actually follow the company, there's a lot of like analysts, right, who follow them, but they might follow auto industry as well. And Tesla's not just an auto company. I would say that being an auto company is probably the least important part of what Tesla's doing right now. Software by far easily doubles what it is with the auto. Yes, everything is interconnected, but I mean, being an auto company is just one tiny fraction of what Tesla is. And that's why you get a lot of, there's such a dispersion, you know what I mean? Like in terms of viewpoints, that's like old school media, right? Like mainstream media, right? They just don't get it yet. Um, and I'm not like if there's like you do what if there's any of those guys watching, like it's just a fucking difference of opinion. I want to be historically correct. That's all. Like I know what I'm seeing. I know how it's going to play out, and I'm very confident in that. I've been watching for years, and that is what Ross is actually paying attention. Like, what other company gets the attention of China that allows them to open up their own business in China? Like no other company does that. They don't have to pay taxes on some of the tariffs on some of their cars that are imported or something. The Chinese government is made ways so that they could get their factory built up and running, producing cars in less than a year. Like a giant fucking factory went from a complete field, to a factory. Like they cleared it, made it into a factory, put the equipment inside of it, started all the equipment and wired everything. It's all done. It's already producing cars, and it will probably be close to about $1,000 cars per week on a low end towards the end of this year, or maybe in like the 500 to 1,000 range per week. But that's only 2,000 a month. So like it's not a tremendous amount, but the numbers they're going to report for this quarter they just raised the price of the Tesla. So what does that mean? Well, like they're pretty confident they're going to hit their numbers. I just bought with Tesla to take advantage of the tax for other financial reasons. I'll make a whole video on it if you want to see it. But there's a tremendous amount of value that's there, but just so many other people don't realize or whatever. Thank you, Ross, so much for your comment. He also leaves a comment on the awareness rankings video. Yang will win if and only if he can break free of the media blackout. As Stolt has shown, the enthusiasm is there, but a highly motivated 5% of the population will lose. If the enthusiasm of video creators and viewers breaks out, then the 5% will transform into 100%, and Yang will be polling 50% and win. Based on Stolt's rankings and current polling, 5% times 10 equals 50. Once everyone knows about Yang. I don't know about the math. I don't think it's that simple necessarily. I do think that like this next debate is going to be a smaller field. By that default, Yang should have more time to talk. I think last debate he had like 6 minutes. 6 minutes for the whole fucking debate, right? So to have more time to get your message out, I think could be a pivotal moment, because we can feel in terms of these rankings, right? We know that there's a tension in a lot of these spots, right? But there's also a fucking retarded amount of opportunity to get your message out to more people. And because just the math, he should have more time talking. And if he doesn't, then the media company who's broadcasting this is just going to get destroyed, and like the company that's actually producing this, because it's on the internet. Everybody here knows about it, and it's been happening at like every single debate that they don't allow him to get as much time in. So I think they would get like destroyed, and that would bring more attention to what's happening. But I do think that the best way, that if anybody wants to help any candidate, whoever it might be, whether it's Yang or somebody else, they just need to get their message out. Like I've been harping on it this whole time, but they just need to get their message out to more and more people. Like if you go to the store, right, and you've seen me and you've watched this video, and I have a thing there with me on it, and then there's a no-name brand of something else right, sitting right here, there's a higher probability that you're going to pick up my product versus somebody else's. That's how it works, and that's why the intention is the most important piece. I'd love to hear what your guys' thoughts are on all this down below in the comment section. Don't forget to use the hashtag Stolt, or if you want to jump over to Instagram and say what's good, or to my other YouTube channel where I talk more about fun stuff in terms of using compounds and drugs and just my much more personal life over there, not so much business stuff over there. But if you want to check it out, there's a link in the description. I appreciate you guys. I'll talk to you soon. Peace.